Welcome to our Youth Education Spiritism with the Kardec Radio. I am Bernadette Leal, and I'll be spending a few minutes with you, inspiring to bring spiritual awareness and spirituous teachings to our youth, parents, and educators. Today, we'll be answering 3 questions about children and their relationship with God. First question: how can I help my child to build a relationship with God? Dear listeners, building a relationship with God is a struggle that we have seen not only among children and teenagers, but also among adults. One of the reasons is because of the way many of us were raised with the concept of a judgmental God that we fear, and that also has the power to send us to heaven or hell. How can God be loving and forgiving and at the same time be punishing? This contradiction brings conflict to our minds and affects how we relate to God. Therefore, presenting to children a God who loves, understands, and does not punish us is essential to help them become closer to God and start to build a relationship with Him. The first step to achieve that is by reflecting upon location, which means where God is. We say that God is everywhere, true, but let's think about it a little bit further. When we talk about God, it's common to say that God is with me or God is by my side. So if you look into the prepositions with and by, using these sentences, we are talking about 2 separate entities, God and you. For example, when we say, my mom is with me, or my mom is by my side, we have the mother and me, 2 separate people. When we use with or by in those sentences to refer to God in our lives, we are unconsciously separating ourselves from God. That's why it's so important on how we phrase our words and what we affirm. So what we would like to invite you to do at this moment is to switch. Instead of saying, God is with me, say, God is within me. Come on, say it. God is within me. How does that make you feel? It changed from God being outside of us to God being inside of us, part of us. This concept of where God is, within, is fundamental to start teaching our children at an early age, so they will begin to realize their connection with God and that we are not apart from the Creator and Sustainer of our lives. Second question: how can I explain to a child the concept that God is immaterial? Well, the concept of something immaterial is not easy for them to grasp because children learn and experience in the world through material things and through feelings. So it is easier to refer to God in terms with which children are familiar. For instance, a simple way of doing it is to present God as our buddy. A buddy is a good friend, someone you can talk, hang out, play, trust, share your problems, and ask for help. What a great thing it is to have a buddy who is always there for us. Introducing God as a buddy to children helps them to relate to it because they have experienced that kind of relationship. The next step, after the child has already started to develop a relationship with God, is to ask him to make a drawing about God, a representation. It is normal to see children drawing God as a person up in the sky, watching over people, or as a superhero. And this is okay, because they are beginning to reflect upon God based on their own experiences. So, drawing God as a superhero is not a bad thing, because it means that the child is developing an idea that God has special powers and can save lives. After some time, as you feel the child is ready, move forward to the next level. In education, we use a term called scaffolding. Scaffolding is a method proposed by Lev Vygotsky in which a teacher, after she introduces a new concept to a student or when he has a doubt, she will assist him and provide the support he needs to reflect and come to his own discovery. The teacher does not give the student the answer, but helps to support him to come to the realization. For instance, instead of saying that the child is wrong and that God is not human, you may join him in a drawing by representing God as a bright light. As you draw it, do think aloud by sharing your reflection. Say, well, I've never seen or touched God, but I know that He is within me. So I'm drawing God as a light because God makes me feel warm inside, and He brings light to my life when I need. Then simply put your picture next to your child's and let him look at it for a while so he can compare the drawings and think about what is said. Slowly you see that the child will start to reflect upon it and will replace the old information with a new one when he is ready. Third question. How does a child understand God? Well, do we understand God? We know some attributes of God. The first question of chapter 1 of the Spirit's book, Kardec asks the spirits, "What is God?" And the answer, God is the supreme intelligence, the first cause of all things. Kardec also asks, can an individual understand the essential nature of God? And the spirits answer, no. Human beings lack the capability for such understanding. But here is something that you may be surprised to hear. Children do understand God, but in their own terms. Because whenever they face any difficult idea and concept which are hard for them to comprehend, they will use their imagination. Yes, they will use their imagination to come up with a creative and logical explanation that makes sense to them. And they live happily with it till they have matured physically, emotionally, and cognitively to revisit that subject. We may not like children's explanation or feel that it's our job to explain difficult concepts to them. The problem with this is that we are not respecting their developmental level, introducing terms and ideas that they are not ready for them, and causing some damage. Kardec Radio listeners, let's help our children develop a relationship with God in an easy and friendly way. Allow them to be creative in their own understanding of God. We, adults, may want to explain God intellectually, but children don't. They feel God in their hearts, and we can definitely learn a lot with them. We guarantee you that no child loses any night of sleep trying to understand the grandeur of God. So why would we? Thanks for listening to Yes. And if you have any question that would like us to answer, please email it to Kardec@kardecradio.com.